On October 19, 2025, former President Donald Trump stunned the world by announcing via his Truth Social platform that he would halt all U.S. financial aid to Colombia. The announcement sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles and immediately became headline news. As many questioned the timing and motivation behind such a drastic move, Trump's statement was bold and unequivocal, leaving little room for negotiation or compromise. His message directly targeted Colombian President Gustavo Petro, escalating their ongoing feud into a major policy confrontation. The two leaders have clashed repeatedly over issues ranging from drug policy to human rights, but this latest ultimatum marks the most serious escalation yet, raising the stakes for both countries. For decades, U.S. aid has supported Colombia's fight against drug trafficking, funding anti-narcotics operations, development projects, and security initiatives. Billions of dollars have flowed into the country, making Colombia one of the largest recipients of American assistance in Latin America. But Trump now calls it a failed investment, arguing that the results have not justified the cost. The move follows the recent revocation of Petro's U.S. visa, a decision that shocked many observers and signaled a dramatic shift in U.S. Colombia relations. The visa revocation is widely seen as a personal rebuke to Petro, further straining diplomatic ties and complicating future cooperation between the two nations. Trump's ultimatum is clear: Colombia must take immediate and decisive action to control narcotics production, or face the possibility of direct U.S. intervention. The threat of intervention has alarmed regional leaders and raised fears of increased instability in Latin America. The world watches anxiously as this high-stakes standoff threatens to reshape security, diplomacy, and the balance of power across the Americas. The coming weeks will reveal whether cooler heads can prevail, or if the crisis will spiral into a new era of confrontation. Trump claims Colombia is failing to stop illegal drugs, insisting that despite years of U.S. support, the flow of narcotics into America hasn't slowed. He points to rising overdose deaths and persistent cartel activity as evidence that current strategies aren't working. Trump goes further, directly accusing President Petro of not just failing, but actively enabling the drug trade through weak enforcement and controversial policies. He argues that Petro's approach undermines U.S. efforts and emboldens traffickers. He calls U.S. aid a waste of taxpayer money, claiming it props up a system that benefits corrupt officials and drug traffickers, not ordinary Americans. Trump says billions have been spent with little to show for it, fueling public frustration at home. Trump's America First stance frames the aid as a ripoff, demanding that Petro shut down what he calls killing fields, or face serious U.S. action. He argues that American interests must come first, even if it means upending long-standing alliances. He warns of possible unilateral intervention if Colombia doesn't comply, signaling a sharp break from the decades of cooperation that have defined U.S.-Colombia relations. This threat marks a new, more confrontational approach. This reflects deep frustration with Colombia's drug policies and a belief among Trump's supporters that only forceful, uncompromising measures will protect the U.S. from the consequences of the drug trade. The conflict now centers on whether to continue a troubled partnership or pivot to punitive action, with both countries' futures and countless lives hanging in the balance. President Petro has fiercely rejected Trump's accusations and condemned U.S. military tactics as violations of Colombian sovereignty. At the UN, Petro called for international action against U.S. officials, including Trump, over deadly strikes on suspected smugglers. He argues these tactics harm civilians and fail to dismantle criminal networks, demanding a new approach based on social investment and public health. Petro insists the U.S.-funded war on drugs has only fueled violence and poverty in Colombia's rural areas. The clash is now a battle of worldviews: Trump's force versus Petro's reform. The U.S. Colombia partnership has long centered on fighting cocaine production, with billions spent on military aid and eradication. Despite efforts like Plan Colombia, coca cultivation remains high, and trafficking operations grow more sophisticated. Strategies have shifted from aerial fumigation to crop substitution, but results are mixed. Trump's camp sees softer policies as weakness, blaming them for persistent drug flows. Petro's government favors development and alternatives for farmers, while Trump demands aggressive eradication. This fundamental disagreement over strategy is the heart of the current crisis. Both sides believe only their approach can solve the problem. The U.S. Colombia alliance is a cornerstone for both nations, shaping security, trade, and regional stability across the Americas. For decades, this partnership has helped maintain peace, foster economic growth, and support democratic values in a region often marked by volatility. The relationship is not just symbolic, it's built on shared interests and mutual benefits that reach far beyond their borders. If this alliance fractures, it could create a power vacuum, allowing rivals like China or Russia to expand their influence in Latin America. These global powers are eager to strengthen their foothold, offering investments and political support that could shift the balance of power in the region, potentially undermining U.S. interests and reshaping alliances. Economically, the U.S. is Colombia's top trading partner, with billions of dollars in goods and services flowing between the two countries each year. Disruption in this relationship could threaten thousands of jobs, disrupt supply chains, and hurt businesses on both sides, from Colombian farmers to American manufacturers and exporters. For Colombia, losing U.S. aid would be devastating. It would cripple security operations, slow down development projects, and undermine anti-drug efforts that have taken years to build. The risk of violence and instability returning to rural areas would increase, threatening hard-won progress and the safety of communities. Trump's threats may be part of a high-stakes negotiating strategy, but if neither side is willing to compromise, the consequences could be severe and long-lasting. Political tensions could escalate, making future cooperation even more difficult and unpredictable. The future of this crucial partnership now depends on whether Trump and Petro can overcome their differences and find common ground. Their ability to communicate and negotiate will determine if the alliance survives or falters in the face of mounting challenges. Around the world, people are watching closely, wondering if this war of words will lead to a permanent rupture or become a turning point that sparks renewed cooperation and change for both nations.